Wait! Before we start, do you want a bundle of 30 printable English PDF cheat sheets? Teaching you words and phrases for conversations for free? Then click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get access. Hi everybody, and welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alisha, and this week we are going to talk about money. We're going to talk about earning money, spending money, and saving and investing money. Today we're going to talk about some important verbs, mostly, but I have also included some key nouns that are also extremely important to include in your discussions about money and, of course, in your planning about money. So I hope that this is a very helpful lesson for learners of all levels. So as you join, please make sure to hit the like button and, of course, share this video so other people can find today's lesson. Send a message in the chat so I can come to say hello to you if you're watching live. If you're watching later, welcome. Thanks for checking it out. But while we wait for people to join us live, I want to mention this banner at the bottom of the screen which says, download your free 2,000 words ebook. The team has a free PDF ebook at EnglishClass101.com. This is the 2,000 Core Words of English ebook. That means these are the 2,000 most commonly used words in everyday communication. So these are the words that you're going to need to know first. So if you want to make sure your vocabulary studies are very efficient, if you want to study the most important words at the beginning of your studies, go download this. You can check the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above or to the side of the video if you're watching on Facebook. You just need your name and an email address to make a free account at EnglishClass101.com. Log in, come back to this page, and you can download this for free. Check it out. I hope that it helps you. Okay, we have a lot to cover today, so let's say a quick greeting to everybody. Hello, Natalie and Zach and Rocky, Patrick, Fernando, Allison, Inazuma, Labette, what's up? Facebook, I don't see anybody on Facebook yet. Maybe it is loading. We will see in just a second. So please make sure to hit the like button if you haven't. Hello, Mino, and let's get into today's lesson. Hi, Victor. Hello, Mauricio. Welcome. Okay, let's go because I wrote a lot on the board today, so let's get through everything. Let's begin with maybe our favorite step, get money. So I've used the word get money to be very, very basic, right? Let's talk about some key words we use to talk about getting money. The first is to earn. To earn, maybe the most common way we get money. To earn money means to do a job or to provide a service, etc. Maybe you sell something, for example, in exchange for money. So you do something, you go to your job, you sell a product, you receive money. So we call that earning money, to earn money. Let's look at this vocabulary word in 2 sentences. How much are you going to earn next year? Here is our verb. How much are you going to earn next year? Maybe when you want to plan something with your partner, how much are you going to earn next year, right? How much money are you going to get in exchange for working or providing a service, yeah? Second example here, I earned $50,000 last year. I earned $50,000 last year. Here, I have the past tense version of the verb, the past tense form. Please note, it is a regular past tense verb, earned. So put ed at the end to make the past tense form. So I earned $50,000 last year. Simple one, right? So you can think about, you don't have to put in the chat your money from the last year, but you can think about how much money you earned last year as a good way to warm up today, okay? All right, then let's take a look at this next one. To get paid, to get paid. This verb is a little different from to earn. To get paid means to receive the money you have earned, okay? So there is an important difference between these. To earn money means to do your job, right? Or to sell your service, to sell your product. You are working, right? You are doing something and that is valuable, right? To get paid, that's the action of receiving the money, yeah? So these two are a little bit different, right? Earning the money means doing the action of, value. And then to get paid means to receive the money. So let's look at these example sentences. First one, a very common one. Yay, we get paid tomorrow. Yay, we get paid tomorrow. So here we have we get paid tomorrow, right? So this is an expression usually of excitement, right? The day before what we call payday is something like this often. Oh, we get paid tomorrow. That means we receive the money from our jobs tomorrow, right? Usually a happy moment, yeah? Let's look at the second example. I don't get paid until next week. I don't get paid until next week. So again, a very common sentence we use when planning our money for the month, yeah? So in this case, I don't get paid until next week, okay? So this is kind of a way to say, maybe I don't have money or I won't have enough money until next week. This one sounds a little bit on the negative side, but we want to express money is going to come in next week. So I don't get paid until next week, okay? So these two are important to consider. They are different, okay? Let me see your examples. Fernando wrote, I want to earn a lot of money. Great, okay. Yamanya wrote, I earned 2,000 reals per month. Okay, good. Fernando, we get paid tomorrow. Careful, we get paid. This is a D. We get paid tomorrow, okay? So watch out for that. Hello, everyone joining on Facebook. Welcome, Julius and Al-Gassim. Hello. Let's go to the next one then. I want to include this, this phrase. This is a really common way to get paid, okay? So this phrase is direct deposit. Direct deposit. This means money sent directly to your account. This is maybe the most common way to get paid in many countries around the world. In English, at least in American English, we say direct deposit. So this means the money comes from your job and goes into your bank account directly, okay? So to deposit, which, did I include it like, I didn't include that today, okay. To deposit means to put money into your account, right? And direct means there's nothing in the way. So it goes from your employer to your bank with no stop between, okay? So we like direct deposit. It's very easy. We like that a lot. So this is usually how we receive our money, how we get paid. And often we need to set up direct deposit. This is usually how part of the process when we begin a new job. We set up direct deposit. This is the name of a payment system. So if you work in the USA or maybe some other English-speaking countries, maybe you already know about this direct deposit phrase. So this is kind of the flow. We earn money, we get paid, and we do that through direct deposit systems. Okay, good so far. Let me check the chat. Zach wrote, my new job offers direct deposit, so I don't have to worry about losing a paper check. Great one. Okay, he mentioned paper checks. So maybe some of you have received a check for your job, a piece of paper. We use that, interestingly, still in the United States. You have to take that to the bank and then you can get paid. Or maybe some people receive cash for certain jobs. So direct deposit means you don't have to do anything to get your money. Okay, let me check the other examples. I'll try to check a few from different people. Inazuma wrote, I deposited 2,000 pesos in my credit card. So when we use the verb deposit, it usually means we put money into a bank account. So this deposit means put money into a bank account. I'll put a note here. This is for banks, bank accounts, okay? So when you want to talk about a credit card, maybe we can talk about it more in part 2. When you want to talk about a credit card, we usually say, your example, I paid 2,000 pesos, like hang on. So if maybe maybe I need to clarify your example sentence, but my understanding is you paid 2,000 pesos on your card and now it's time to repay that amount, right? Maybe you can send me another example sentence there, though. But we usually say, I made a payment on my credit card, or I made a payment of 2,000 pesos to my credit card. But maybe that's not quite right what you want to say, but you can send me an example. Okay, let me move on to the next one. The Black Eagle wrote, I earned enough money to pay my bills. Great example sentence. Patrick wrote, when we are paying online, can we call it direct deposit, or do you use another name for this? For example, in online shopping. So we usually say direct deposit only for our money that we receive, yeah? So when you make a payment for online shopping, like Amazon or Apple or something like that, when you make a payment online, we don't usually say direct deposit. Instead, you might see, depending on the country, like bank transfer. Like there might be some kind of bank transfer or similar phrase we use instead. Direct deposit we usually use just for receiving our paycheck, right? Our monthly paycheck. I hope that answers your question. Okay, Cynthia wrote, I want to deposit money in my account, but I don't have money. A very common situation, right? Okay, great example. Don't forget your to, Cynthia. I want to deposit money. Okay, let me check Facebook. Hello, Iris. I prefer direct deposit. Yes, very common one. Okay. Rodis wrote on YouTube, here in Chile, we always get paid by or via direct deposit, almost all the companies. Yeah, great. Another point, I'll write it here. When you want to talk about this system, use to get paid by, or I personally would say I get paid via, or you might also hear through. To get paid via or through direct deposit. These two show the method of payment here. So that's how we link it. I get paid via direct deposit, or I get paid through direct deposit. That's how we show the relationship between the payment and our bank account. Yeah? Okay, let's continue to the next part. Very quickly, though, I'll remind you, in case you missed it, about this banner at the bottom of the screen. If you didn't see it before, the team has a free PDF ebook with the 2,000 core words of English. Woohoo! So if you haven't checked it out, you can go download this for free. You can go to the link down here, YouTube, or up here if you're watching on Facebook. You can go download this from EnglishClass101.com. This has the 2,000 most commonly used words in English. Some of these words are in there, plus many, many more. So go check it out, because I hope it really helps you to practice the most important words first, yeah? Okay, so I'll remind you again a little bit later. For now, let's continue to part 2. We're going to talk next about using money or spending money, okay? And if you haven't, please make sure to like this video and share it, because it helps other people find the lesson, okay? Let me check the chat. Bantha on Facebook wrote, I want to direct deposit money. So direct deposit is usually from your work, right? Your employer will direct deposit your money, yeah? For you, you can just say, I want to deposit money, right? To deposit money means to put in. So you don't need to say direct deposit. If you want to put money in your account, I want to deposit some money. Perfect. Okay, let's continue to part 2. Using and spending money, maybe the most fun. If earning money, getting money is exciting, maybe using and spending money is very fun, right? So let's talk about some key vocabulary words here. The first is to buy. The verb to buy means to use your money to get something, right? This is the general word we use to mean use your money and receive something, right? So let's look at the example sentences. I want to buy a house someday. Here's our verb. I want to buy a house someday. So I want to use my money to get a house someday, okay? The second example, past tense, we bought a new TV last week. We bought a new TV last week. In past tense, we have this irregular, so buy becomes bought in past tense, yeah? We bought a new TV last week. So buy is the very general word we use to mean using money to get something else, okay? So with this in mind, let's look at this verb, to pay. To pay. To pay is different from to buy. To pay means to give money in exchange for something, right? Similar, but to pay, this part is the most important. This is the action of giving the money, right? So in the store or in a restaurant, when you give your credit card or you give cash or you give a check maybe, you give someone money to finish your shopping, yeah? To finish your transaction. That's the verb we use, pay, okay? So we don't say, I want to buy like my something, like at a restaurant, right? You say, I want to pay at a restaurant, yeah? So that means the action of giving the money, okay? So let's compare this to 2 more example sentences, as in, please pay at the register. Please pay at the register. This is a super common sentence. So at a shopping mall, store, or at a restaurant, or maybe even a hotel, yeah? Please pay at the register means please give the money at the register, okay? Second, past tense, I already paid for lunch. I already paid for lunch. Here is the verb. Again, paid. This is the same as this one, to get paid, yeah? So I already paid for lunch. That means I already gave the money in exchange for the food, yeah? So pay means to give money for something. Okay, let me check the chat really quickly. On Facebook, Nuha wrote, I want to buy a car next week. Good, perfect use of buy. Nicely done. Back on YouTube, Zach wrote, I will try to buy the concert tickets before they sell out. Nice one. Rocky wrote, I'm hoping to buy new shirts someday. Nice one. Inazuma wrote, to buy my favorite shirt, I need to pay $2,000. So expensive. A $2,000 shirt, that is too expensive. Don't buy that shirt. This is not financial advice, but I don't think you should buy a $2,000 shirt. Okay, let's see. Zach, I see you're writing many messages, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance today. Victor wrote, I don't feel like I spend money when I go to the restaurant with you. Oh, that's a very nice way to say, like if you're on a date with somebody, nice one. You feel like maybe it's, well, it depends on how you use that. I don't feel like I spend money. Maybe that means that person is a very cheap date, maybe. they don't cost a lot of money. But, or maybe you feel like it's a good use of money. Maybe that's a nice way to say what you want to say. I don't mind spending a lot of money when I'm with you. That could be a good way to say something. Maybe that's what you're going for, a date expression. Okay, Patrick wrote, I've spent all my money before the lunch. This is sad. Maybe you want to say, I spent instead of I have spent before lunch. I believe that's what you want to say. I spent all my money before lunch. This is sad. Maybe that's what you want to say, a little grammar change. Okay, Yamanya wrote, I will pay money for my children's clothes. Okay, so that's grammatically correct. I will pay money for my children's clothes, but I would maybe say I'll buy, like I will buy my children's clothes, or I need to buy my children's clothes. We usually pay when we are in the store, yeah? Or when we tell a story about the store, right? Like I paid I paid at the front of the store. So when you talk about your plans to get something, probably use the verb buy to do that, okay? I want to spend or invest my money in a game arcade. Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit over here with investing. I have invest and to save, but yeah, I would choose spend. I want to spend my money in a game arcade is a good one to use, Mina. Okay, let's continue. Oh, I did put spend here. Okay, great. Let's continue to spend. Great example sentence there, Mino. To spend. This generally means to use money, right? To use money. So maybe you don't buy it or buy something, right? To spend just means you use it, generally using something, okay? So this is a way to talk about like your money during the month. So let's look at some example sentences so you can see how and why we use the verb spend. Like, had a good one in the chat. So first one is, I don't want to spend all my money today. I don't want to spend all my money today. Here, to spend, this is our verb. So imagine spend means use, yeah? I don't want to use all my money today, right? So in this sentence, there's no clear plan, right? We didn't say, I'm going shopping, or I'm going to an arcade, or I'm going to some vacation spot, right? This is a very general sentence, right? So this is how we use spend, to talk about using money generally. So I don't want to spend all my money today, okay? Let's try the next example, past tense. I spent too much last month. I spent too much last month. Please note here, the past tense, spend becomes spent. Spent, irregular there, spent. I spent too much money last month. Again, if we imagine this is use, it would be I used too much money last month. So we don't, in these example sentences, we don't have like examples. What did we buy, right? We just want to say, I used too much, right? So spend can be a very, very general word, all right? Let's see the examples in the chat. Yamanya wrote, I spent a lot of money last week. Good. Zach wrote, that's a lot of money to spend on t-shirts. Indeed, that 2000 example was good. What else is going down there? Can you scroll down, Control Desk? Okay. I will pay $300 for a pair of sneakers. Oh, all right, good one. Good use of pay there. I'll pay $300 for a pair of sneakers. Some people love their sneakers. That's a whole thing. Okay, let's continue then. I wanted to connect these two verbs, to spend and to overspend. To overspend means to use too much money, okay? So this is long, right? To use too much money. We have one word that means to do that, to overspend. So we have spend right here. Over means like too much, to do that thing too much. Easy, right? Let's look at these examples then. Be careful not to overspend on vacation. Be careful not to overspend on vacation. So this sentence means be careful not to spend too much money on vacation. That's very long, right? So be careful not to overspend on vacation. And in past tense, we overspent on our car. Oops, we overspent. This means we spent too much money on our car, or we used too much money on our car, okay? So to overspend means to go beyond too much used, all right? Okay, let me see your examples, and then we'll finish quickly with saving and investing words. Nuha on Facebook wrote, I spent all my money to start my business. I think the chat went quickly. I hope I got that right. Great example. Others, Bantha wrote, I have spent money on my vacation. Maybe I have spent or I spent money on my vacation is okay, just a basic sentence. Abdullah, I have not the money to spend. I know what you're trying to say. I don't have money to spend. That's how you say it. If you don't have a lot of money right now, you can say, I don't have money to spend. That's what you want to say. Okay, let me come back to YouTube. Mauricio wrote, I want to, careful, you're typing there. I want to spend my money to learn languages and other things. Great, okay? Others, Natalie wrote, I don't want to spend money on luxurious goods. Okay, great example. Inazuma, I literally spent all of my money for a game. So sad. Let me go back to great example, almost perfect, Inazuma. Let's talk about prepositions briefly. I literally spent all of my money to spend money. Let me put an important note here. To spend money on something. We want to use the preposition on. To spend money on something instead of spend money for something. Like, I spent too much money on a game, or I spent too much money on my shirt, or I spent too much money on my haircut. I spent too much money on my car. We want the preposition on for this one. That's an important note. Thanks for that example. Okay. Oh my gosh, time is going quickly. Okay, let me go to the last one and then I'll come back to the chat again where we will finish quickly. So let's finish with the last few vocabulary words about saving and investing. Maybe one of the most important parts here, right? This is exciting, this is fun, and then this is super important. So to save money is our next key word. To save money means to keep it, right? To keep it in a bank account. Maybe some people keep it in cash in their house somewhere. You have your own system, I hope. So to save money means just to keep it somewhere, to not use it yet, all right? Let's look at the examples. It's important to save money. It's important to save money, to keep some, right? And second, try to save money every month. Try to save money every month. Here we go. Again, try to save money, right? In past tense, this is a regular verb. So we saved $100 last month, for example. So we just want to talk about keeping it. Now, I want to compare this to the verb invest, to invest money. To invest money means to put money in, for example, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, etc., right? So this means there is some risk with your money. It's not the same as saving money. Saving money means you keep it, usually in a savings account or in cash, like I mentioned, or maybe you have another system in your country. To invest money means you use your money to buy parts of companies or to buy government products. And you hope the money goes up over time, right? So we call this investing. So to invest describes using your money in this way. So let's look at the examples we have. We have start investing as soon as possible. Start investing as soon as possible. Here we have investing. In this case, we have linked it to the verb start. Start investing. So this means start doing this activity as soon as possible. So maybe for some people, common advice. Okay? Second then, she started investing when she was 20. She started investing when she was 20. So here, past tense, but again, started the activity of investing. Or she started to invest is also okay. Okay, so when we invest, we do have some risk that we don't have, or it's a different type of risk with savings accounts. Oftentimes, savings accounts, we receive very low interest, but there's less risk. With investments, there is generally, well, depending on the situation, more interest, but there's also more risk, right? So let's talk about this word, interest. Super important vocabulary word. Interest is the money you earn from keeping your money in a savings account or investment, maybe. Maybe. I want to include this maybe as a big maybe, right? Because we don't know for sure what's going to happen when we invest our money, right? So interest means, for example, you keep your money in a bank account and slowly it grows. It gets bigger over time because you receive money from the bank as like a thank you, right? For keeping your money in the bank. This money is called interest, yeah? So let's look at a couple example sentences. First, this is a high interest bank account. This is a high interest bank account. This is a noun, by the way, interest. High interest bank account. That means the amount of money we receive from keeping our money is a high level, yeah? Maybe like 5%, 4.5, 5%. Nice, right? So the second example, my account has low interest. Sad face. My account has low interest, okay? So again, we have here the interest amount. So low interest, maybe, oh man, I don't earn any money from keeping my money in this type of account. It is low interest. So typically, we feel excited when we have a high interest savings account. It means we get more money over time, yeah? And we don't have to do anything. We just keep our money there, okay? So interest. We love interest. We love compound interest, all right? Let me see the examples. What else is coming in? Mina wrote, I try to save money for the next trip with my dogs. Okay, or maybe you could say, I'm going to try to save money, or I'm trying to show that it's your plan or that you are doing it now, maybe. So I'm going to try, okay? Zach wrote, she decided to invest her savings in a startup company. Nice example sentence. Back on Facebook, Banfi wrote, my account has, don't forget you need a verb there, my account has 0 interest. And we usually use a percent. So for interest, my account has 0% interest, or my account has 1% interest. So we use a percent when we talk about interest. Nice one, though. Okay. What else? I want to see what else. Inazuma, can you use save for the preposition for? Yes. I believe I understand your question correctly with save. So I want to save for something is the preposition. I want to save, for example, for a vacation. Yes, we want to use the preposition for to talk about our savings goal. Okay. Oh my gosh, I have to finish quickly. Let's wrap it up then. Last one then. Phew, I only put one more. Okay, the last one. I put the verb withdraw, to withdraw. Maybe this is a tricky pronunciation point, a good one to practice. To withdraw means to take money out of an account, okay? So take money out of your regular bank account, take money out of your savings account, take money out of an investment account, okay? To withdraw means to take money out, okay? So let's look at the examples and let's talk about 2 points. So I want to withdraw some money. You go to the bank, I want to withdraw some money. Here we have the verb. This means I want to take out some money from an account, right? And second, past tense. I want to note this about past tense. I withdrew. Withdrew. This one is a strange past tense. So withdraw becomes withdrew. D-R-E-W. Weird, right? So he withdrew $50. This means he took $50 out of his account. Okay? So we can use withdraw for all the different types of account. Okay? Oh my gosh, we made it. Great. All right, I have to finish there. I am almost at my deadline, so let's finish up quickly. If you want to take a screenshot, go for it. Now is your chance. Hooray! So today we got to talk about money. How exciting. I have to finish there because it's the time. Oh my gosh. So I will quickly let you know that next week we're going to change the live streams a little bit, but I will of course still be here. The presentation style will be a little different. So I hope that you can still enjoy that. The topic next week will be government words. So please join me to talk about some government words next week. I hope we have a good time. That will be 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York City time. If you don't know your local time, just Google it or set a notification on Facebook or on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who joined and sent great example sentences and questions today. I have to go, but I hope you have a great week, a great weekend. Check out the free 2,000-word ebook from the link below and go crazy with your vocabulary studies. You can find this at EnglishClass101.com. So I'll say goodbye for now, but I hope you join me again next week and have a great weekend. Bye! Hi everybody, and welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alisha, and in this week's live lesson, we're going to talk about government vocabulary. Today, I have chosen a bunch of vocabulary words about government systems, about the law, and about just daily life inside a country. So I hope that everybody will be able to find the words to describe their country's government system and also to talk a little bit about their opinions relating to the government. So as you join today, please, please, please make sure to hit the like button and of course share this video so that other people can find today's lesson. That would be super, super cool. I also want to mention this banner at the bottom of the screen which says download your free 2,000-word ebook. If you haven't seen it, the team has made this ebook right here, this one, that has the 2,000 core words of English. Those are the most commonly used words in English. So you can download this for free from EnglishClass101.com now and study the most important words first. You'll find the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, above the video if you're watching on Facebook. All right, so as people join, I will come to say hello in the chat. But first, let's take a look at all of the different words we're going to talk about today. I've chosen a few different words that are related to government systems and words that are often in the news today. So today we're going to talk about democracy, monarchy, oligarchy, authoritarianism, a few very, very different government systems. We're also going to talk about some concepts that are important in government, like equality and corruption. We're going to talk about voting. We're going to talk about the political spectrum, left-wing, right-wing, and centrists. We're going to talk about the word policy and how it's different from law. We'll talk about what it means to be a citizen or what citizenship means. And we'll also talk about public services. I've also included campaign here too. So we're going to cover a lot today. So let's get into it. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat really quickly. On Facebook, hello, Macias, hello. And on YouTube, Natalie, Patrick, Elke, what's up? Fatih, Vailon, what's up everybody? Welcome. We have a lot to cover, so let's begin. Let's start, oh yes, if you missed it, don't forget to click the link below the video to find this free PDF ebook. Check it out. I will remind you again later. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start with democracy. Ta-da! So democracy is our first word for today. The pronunciation is democracy. Democracy. I know it looks kind of like democracy or something like that. Democracy. Democracy. So the emphasis is on the mock right here, democracy, okay? So a democracy is a government system in which the people choose the leader by voting, okay? The basic concept of a democracy is the people get to choose, right? There are many different systems for many different countries, so they're all a little bit different. But basically, the people either directly choose the leader or they choose leaders who then choose the next highest level leader, yeah? So let's look at this in a sentence. Our country became a democracy more than 100 years ago. So our country became a democracy more than 100 years ago, okay? Can't really see it. We'll see it here in a little bit, but I have a picture. There's a picture down here of a person putting a piece of paper into a box that is called voting, but we'll get to that later. Okay, let's compare this then to another government system that is not so popular these days, that is not so common these days, used to be very popular. The system is a monarchy. 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 So the emphasis is here. Monarchy. A monarchy is a government system in which the leaders are from a family. So that means kings, queens, princes, and princesses, okay? So a monarchy was ruled by a family, yeah? So we have lots of stories of monarchies throughout history, but today we don't have a lot. Here's one example, though, of a modern monarchy. Saudi Arabia has a monarchy. The king is the head of the state and the head of the government. Okay? So that means that family, or the leader of that family, is also the leader of the country. Yeah? This is a monarchy. Okay. All right. And then we'll continue to the third one here, a very, very different system. This one is oligarchy. We see this one in the news a lot lately. Oligarchy. So the emphasis goes here. Oligarchy. An oligarchy is a system in which a small group of very high status or very wealthy, very, very rich people control the decisions for a country. So these are people with super, super high, extreme amounts of wealth, like some of the richest people in the world. They get together and make a group in the country, and they make the decisions for the country. It's important to note, these are often not like the official systems of government. It's like sometimes there will seem to be a leader, like a president, for example, but behind the scenes, maybe there will be some very, very powerful and rich people that make the real decisions. So it's kind of tough to find an oligarchy that says we are an oligarchy. Usually there's some kind of system in place that makes it look like a democracy, for example. So let's look at an example of this. An oligarchy is a group of people who make decisions for the country to help themselves. So this is one of the issues with an oligarchy. Often the very, very wealthy people making these decisions don't make decisions for the people. They make decisions to help themselves, okay? So here we have all right, so these are our first three government systems I want to talk about today. Let's continue to the next two, and then we'll look at a couple of example sentences. Okay, I'm going to check the chat quickly too. Omar, democracy, it can be plural. Yeah, so to make democracy plural, you say democracies. There are many democracies around the world, for example. Ina wrote, UK as well has a monarchy. Yes, absolutely. There are many, actually, I'll go back. There are many monarchies today that aren't in charge of the government. Like many countries have a king or a queen or a prince or a princess, but they don't have government power. They just have like they're like a symbol for the country, yeah? Like maybe they participate in official ceremonies, but they don't have government power. So we have quite a few of those around the world today. They're like cultural figures. But today we don't have so many monarchies that are actual government powers. So yes, you are correct. Okay. Continuing, okay, the next two. Let's talk about these two. These also appear in the news a lot lately. We see the words dictatorship and authoritarianism. What is the difference between these two? Okay, so a dictatorship, first, this is a government system in which one person or a very small group of people, they hold complete power. So they can do anything, right? So usually the leader of a dictatorship is called a dictator. So you'll notice it's the same root there. A dictatorship is the system. A dictator is the leader of that system. You'll also notice here, this part, this dictate. So to dictate to someone means to tell them what to do, right? Or to give orders to someone. That's the feeling of a dictatorship, giving people orders. And usually in a dictatorship, it's one person with complete power, or it could be like a small group of people with complete power. So it's like they can do anything. They don't have to worry about making or following all the rules in the country, yeah? So we do have some examples of dictators and dictatorships in history. Okay, so let's compare this then to authoritarianism. Authoritarianism. Here we have the root in here, maybe you can see it, authority. Authority. So authority means like being in charge. You are the person who has authority. So for example, in your workplace, the person with authority is your boss, right? Your boss or your manager. The person above you, right? The person above that is their boss, right? That person has authority. So that means that they have the power to like watch over you, watch over your team, to make decisions, and so on. So in authoritarianism, the government is in charge. The government is looking over everything, of course. But authoritarianism is the government system in which there is strong central power. There is reduced democracy, and there's reduced personal rights. So it's like there are many, many strict rules in an authoritarian society, or people are watched very, very closely in an authoritarian society. Okay? So an example sentence, an authoritarian government system can have extremely strict rules for the people. Okay? In this sentence I've used, this is the adjective form here. So an authoritarian government, this is how we make this word authoritarianism, the noun, into an adjective, authoritarian government. Okay, so this is kind of, oh, maybe you can't see the image very well right now, but this is kind of the feeling of an authoritarian system. There are strict rules that you must follow. And an authoritarian system can be part of a dictatorship. So we can have, for example, a dictator in an authoritarian system. Often those two go together, all right? Okay, let me take a look at the chat. I don't see any questions, so let's continue to some review points, and then we'll take a look at our next group of questions, or our next group of vocabulary words. So, democracy. Let's refresh our minds, because this one is probably the most important one here. A democracy is the form of government recently changed from a monarchy to a democracy, yeah? So here is our keyword, democracy, and today we also learned monarchy. Maybe you can remember what a monarchy is. That's the one where a system of government, it's a system of government ruled by a family line, the one with kings and queens and so on. Okay, let's continue to the next example, authoritarianism. Okay, in an authoritarian government, citizens must follow extremely strict rules and may face extreme punishment. So again, we've talked about authoritarianism and authoritarian as the adjective form, okay? So we have two contrasts, democracy, lots of people participating and voting, and authoritarianism, strong rules, strict punishment if you do not follow the rules. Okay, I don't see any questions, so let's continue to the next one. All right, the next group of words, we have equality. Equality is a noun, all right? Equality suggests all people are equal. That's the concept of equality. So that means differences in race, in religion, gender, class. Oops, I put gender twice, sorry. Gender, class are not important, okay? So all people have the same rights. Everyone is equal. It doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has the same rights. So equality, in the example sentence, is a good thing. So modern societies promote equality for their people, okay? So it's a good thing to have everybody have the same kinds of rights, okay? Equality. All right, let's continue to the next one. Maybe not quite the opposite, but a very negative word then, but an important word to know, corruption. Corruption. So corruption is a noun. Corruption means dishonest behaviors and actions by people in power, such as government officials, okay? Dishonest behavior. So, for example, taking money inappropriately or making rules for certain people but not for yourself. So corruption, we see corruption in probably most governments around the world. corruption, unfortunately, is very common, okay? Here's the example. Unfortunately, many countries have serious corruption problems in their governments, yeah? The people in power make decisions for themselves. Before, same picture, we talked about oligarchy, right? Oligarchy was the system that it refers to a number of very, very wealthy people or high status people making decisions and making decisions for themselves, right? So that could be an example of corruption, making decisions only to help themselves. Okay, let's continue to the last one here. The last one, maybe the one that everybody can use easily, maybe the most easy to use word from this lesson today, is to vote. To vote as a verb. I have it as a verb here. To vote means to make a personal choice for a leader for a government position. So that means you can write on your what's called a ballot or the paper, the voting paper. You can write or you can go online and select your choice for leader. So the verb for that is to vote, right? The noun is also vote. So a vote is one selection, one person's selection. So we'll take a look at the example sentence here. It's very important to vote in your country's election. So here we have as a verb, vote. All right, good. I don't see any questions. Messias, is there a real democracy around the world? Oh, that's a big question, right? Some people say, yes, there are many, and other people say, definitely not, probably. But maybe that's a big question for people to ask. What does a real democracy mean, right? In theory, a real democracy means a government system where people choose the leader by voting, and people get to make decisions by voting. So in that sense, we could say there are probably some, but it's a big question. Okay. Let's review. Let's review some words now. So, oh, good question. Omar, what is the meaning of election? Let's see. I'll put it here. So, election right here. An election. An election means for example, when your country is trying to choose a new leader and the time when everybody has to make the decision about who the leader is. It depends on your country. If your country has a democracy, an election means the time when you get to vote. You get to choose. It's that time period. Usually, depending on the country, it could be one day, it could be 1 week. That's the time period where you get to vote. That's an election, right? And so the result of the election chooses the new leader. So the election is the process of choosing the new leader. I hope that helps you. Okay? All right. Patrick, unfortunately, corruption is something cultural to Brazilian politics. Oh, that's difficult. Yeah, I think there's a lot of examples of corruption in many different ways, in many different countries all around the world. Every country has kind of unique issues, I think. Okay, so let's review equality. This one's an important one. Equality. A new education plan aims to improve equality between students in urban and rural areas. Okay, so here we have our keyword, equality. What does this mean? A new education plan aims to improve. Aims to improve. This means the goal of the new education plan is to improve equality. Aims to improve. Then we have these words, urban and rural areas. We often see these words in like kind of polite conversation, government conversations, policy conversations. Urban usually refers to city, yeah, city areas, and rural typically refers to countryside areas or outside the city, yeah, so city and country areas or rural, country, sorry. So often refers to city and more countryside or outside the city areas. So this sentence means there's a new education plan and the idea of the plan is to improve equality. So having the same rights for everybody, for students in the city and in the country areas. Nice, nice, okay? All right, St. Pierre, can anyone vote in different countries? To the best of my knowledge, I do not think so. I think you can only vote in your country. I don't know, maybe if you have, depending on the country, maybe if you have what's called dual citizenship, but I don't know. It depends on the rules of that country. Okay. Penspa on Facebook wrote, rural like suburbs. Rural tends to mean a little more outside of town. It sounds like there are not many houses. I think usually we would say this, it depends a little bit. But for me, I would say rural doesn't include suburbs. I would say the suburbs are still urban. You're still close to the city. Rural areas is more like, for example, farmland, or in places where there's not a big city, right? Maybe there's a very, very small town only. That might be rural communities. Okay? All right, let's continue to, what did I say was next? Corruption. Let's review this keyword too. Corruption. Here's our next example sentence. An investigation into political corruption has led to several arrests. Oh my. So maybe you have seen this in the news in your country. So here's our keyword here, corruption. An investigation, that means the officials checked the corruption status in the country and the results. So it has led to several, so several means many, arrests. So that means people in handcuffs going to jail. The police put handcuffs on them. Okay, let's continue to the next group. What did I put next? Ah, yes, let's differentiate these two. Okay, the next pair, I want to talk about these as a pair because even native speakers have this question. The pair is policy and law. What is the difference between policy and law? So, policy means like the goals and the activities of a government, right? So, there are also the guidelines for rules in governments and organizations. So it can be also organizations. Oh shoot, how do I fix that? So, am I going to delete everything on this? Okay, there we go. So, sorry everybody. So this part, organizations. This can also mean a company. So your company probably has many policies, and your school probably has many policies, right? So that means the goals and the activities of the government or your school or your workplace. So for example, government employees must follow the professional dress code policy. So it's like saying we have a guideline for this specific activity. In this case, dress code. The dress code is the activity, or the dress code is the thing we must have rules about. So they have a specific dress code policy. So in your work, there might be a clock in, like when you start work, what should do, what's the policy, right? What's the rule, right? It's not a law because you will not be arrested if you don't do it, but it's a policy. You can think of policy as connected to rules in your school or in your office, yeah? But they are rules and policies are not the same as laws. So let's compare these, okay? So law means the official rules of a country, city, or state. Those are the official ones. If you break the law, so that means you do something against the law, you can be in trouble. So for example, you can get arrested, you can pay a fine maybe. Maybe you have to go to jail for something, or maybe there are other punishments. So a law is an official rule in your country. A policy is a guideline for your actions in an organization. So they are a little different, yeah? So this policies talk about the goals of something, okay? All right, Marianne on Facebook has a great example. She wrote attendance policy at work. Exactly. So maybe you have a remote work policy or an in-office work policy at your job. Or like Marianne wrote, attendance policy. What is the attendance policy? What is the policy of the core working hours of your company? These are guidelines that the company gives you to help you understand how to act in your company. Okay? Patrick wrote, teacher, police and policy are different. Do they say, they sound different. Police, policy. Police, so the is, police, and policy do in fact have different pronunciations. Okay, let's finish on this section with a pair, a different pair. We're going to talk now about citizenship and citizen. These two are very closely related, citizenship and citizen. Citizenship is the status of being a citizen in a country or of a country. So what's a citizen? A citizen is a person who belongs to a country. So if you have a passport, you are a citizen of that country. Yeah? So I have an American passport. I am an American citizen. So that means that I belong to that country. Or I have citizenship in the USA, in my case. I have citizenship. So we use to have citizenship for this status, to talk about our status. And we say, I am a citizen. I am a citizen. So citizenship is the concept, the idea, right? So if you want to try to make an example sentence, you can say, I have citizenship in your country. And you can say, I am a citizen of your country, okay? We'll practice this a little later. I have a sentence pattern for you to follow, okay? Last example here for this page. I passed the test and received my certificate of citizenship last month, all right? Passed my test and received my certificate of citizenship next month. So in many countries, you can change your citizenship by preparing and passing things such as tests, okay? All right, let's continue to some review points then. Let's review with a new example for policy. So the government introduced a new climate policy to reduce air pollution in major cities. So here we have policy. And what is the policy about? Climate, the climate. So a global climate change, right? And we want to reduce. So reduce means to decrease air pollution. So that means dirty, bad, unhealthy air, right? In major cities. Okay, then let's continue because time's going out quickly. Citizenship. Citizenship, our last example here. Thousands of immigrants applied for citizenship after the new law was approved, okay? So applied to become a citizen of that country after the new law was approved, okay? All right, Omara, I have citizenship. That means I am a citizen. Yes, that is correct, okay? All right, let's continue. I think this is gonna be, maybe I have two more groups of vocabulary words to discuss. Let's talk about this. This one's, it's a lot, it looks like a lot, but it's very easy because I'm going to draw something on the board. Ta-da! To help us. We're gonna draw the political spectrum. Beautiful. Okay, so let's talk about these words that are very commonly used in the news to talk about governments. So first we have left wing, then we have centrist, and then we have right wing, okay? So all of these words connect to what's called the political spectrum. So I drew, don't worry about this shape. We're going to think about this as a kind of way to understand views. So let's start over here on the left side. So left wing, we can use this as a noun and as an adjective. A left wing is a person whose beliefs tend to be on the progressive or on the left side of the political spectrum, okay? So people on this side of the political spectrum, for example, they have very kind of forward-thinking beliefs. They want to move to the next idea. So for example, people like in the USA today, we have many people on the left side who believe that we should be very, very concerned and we should take action against climate change. Or they believe that there should be lots and lots of gun control. We should not have guns. Or that people of the same gender can get married and so on. So those ideas are on the left wing of the political spectrum. So we call people with those beliefs left wing. Left wing. So on the left side of the center, okay? So people with very, very, very far left ideas are the ones that have the very extreme viewpoints. So here's an example. Almost all my friends are left wing and we have interesting discussions. So we can use left wing to talk about someone's character, right? So that's their political beliefs. It's an easy way to describe someone's general political ideas, okay? All right, left wing, yes, control desk writes, higher taxes for the wealthy is another example of a left-wing idea, right? There are many, many left-wing and right-wing ideas. I won't cover all of them today, but just to give you an idea, okay? All right, so let's compare this then to a centrist, a person who is a centrist. So maybe you can see here, centrist has center in the middle, right? The center of the political spectrum. So this is a person whose beliefs tend to be neither on the left side or on the right side, but somewhere kind of in the middle, okay? So they don't have really strong beliefs here or there. So they're in this area. This is where a centrist is, okay? So you can think about your position while I write this. Let's look at the example. I'm left-wing on social topics and right-wing on economic topics. Maybe I'm a centrist, okay? So maybe that's a way you can understand your ideas. For some topics, you're left, some topics, you're right, so maybe that means you're here, right? Okay, let's continue to right wing, the other side of the political spectrum, to be right wing. Okay, this means it's a person whose beliefs tend to be on the traditional or the conservative or the right side of the political spectrum, okay? So this is like the opposite of the left-wing side. So you often see people that want to keep things the way they are, or they want to try things or do things that are kind of more traditional here. So like I talked about with the left wing, people on the right wing, maybe at least in the USA, they want things like, yeah, control desk, they want lower taxes. They want the business world to just operate by itself, no government in the business. They want, in the USA, people to have access to guns. They do not support marriages between people of the same gender, and so on. So the right wing tends to have more traditional beliefs and traditional values, yeah? So this section, this part over here, is usually considered as the right or the right wing. So wing, think about like the wings of a bird. That's kind of the shape here, right? Wing can also be used to mean like halls in a building. So the right wing or the left wing kind of separates, shows that the two are very different, yeah? So we have right wing, left wing, and centrist to talk about the different political beliefs. Okay, let me check the chat. I don't see any questions about this. Okay, let's continue, because oh my gosh, I'm very late. So let's go to the last two words, and then we'll do a quick recap. Phew, we have a lot to cover. Today, let's finish our last words, our campaign and public services. We can use campaign as a noun and a verb. So a campaign is a plan of action for a person to achieve a goal, especially to win an election for a government position. Somebody asked earlier, what is an election? The election is when you decide on the leader, when you vote for your leader. The campaign is the time before that. The candidate tries to convince people, please vote for me. That's the campaign time before the election. So let's look at the example. Some candidates use attack ads on TV in their campaigns, all right? This is common in the USA. Maybe it's not common in your country. Okay, let's continue to the last one then. Oh, Wafa Dua wrote, what is beliefs tend to? So I put this part. They're person whose beliefs tend to. That means in many cases, they usually believe that thing. Something tends to means it's typical or usually is that way. Okay, I hope that helps you. Okay, last one, because time's going quick. Public services, hooray, we love public services. Public services. For example, services like transportation, employment assistance, like employment help if you lose your job, right? And healthcare that the people in the country can use. We call these public services. So, an example, our country really needs to invest more money in public services, like the train, yeah? All right, all of these very important. Okay, so let's continue past these last examples. I want to do a short quiz with you, and I don't have a lot of time. So I'll come back to this later, but if you missed it earlier, the team has a free PDF ebook for you. So let's take a look at some practice questions then. So you can review at the end of our lesson today. Do you remember? What is a system where people choose their leaders by voting? And if you already know the answer, you can come up with another example. What is the government system in your country? Okay, so is it a democracy? Is it authoritarianism? Is it policy? Is it campaign? What do you think? All right, so if you finish that, you can send me an example, or if you're watching this later, you can put an example in the comments. What is the government system in your country? If you had to choose from today's information, what is the government system in your country? All right, I see some people sending the answers in quickly. Yuzrav and Black Eagle have got it. It is democracy. A democracy is a system where people choose their leaders by voting. Yeah? Campaign is, campaign, if we go back, oh my gosh. Campaign is the plan of action to achieve the goal, to become the leader. So a little bit different. A campaign is what we do to try to win an election. Yeah? So it's a bit different from a democracy. Okay, let's continue because time is running out. What word means a person who belongs to a country? So which of these words? The person who belongs to a country. Equality, monarchy, citizen, corruption. And if you finish that, you can tell me, what country do you belong to? Here's my hint pattern. I am a blank of country. You can send your example in the chat. Okay, and some people are sending examples in the chat. Victor wrote, left wing and right wings were born in the French Revolution. That is correct. I did some research on that not too long ago. Citizen, everybody has it. Very nice job. Citizen is the correct answer there. Let's continue because I have no time left. Last one. Okay, so which one of these refers to things like healthcare, employment support, and transportation for a country's people? Policy, public services, vote, or oligarchy? And if you finish that, what do you think is the best support service for people to use in your country? This will be our last question for the day. Phew. Oh my gosh, we did it, almost there. Yeah, all right, Minnow and Natalie are the first ones that have it. Public services, great job, YouTube. All right, I see Facebook is also getting the examples right. Marion and Messias wrote citizen for the last example too. I think maybe there's a lag between Facebook and YouTube, I don't know. But great job. And Omar wrote, I am a citizen of Egypt. Good example, okay. Black Eagle wrote, the bus is an excellent public service. Fantastic, okay. We made it, oh my gosh, we made it. So we practiced all of these words. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that amazing? We got through it all. Hooray! So I hope this lesson was helpful to understand some key vocabulary words for understanding government. I have to leave because I talked a lot as usual. So don't forget to download your free PDF ebook from the link below the video, YouTube, or above the video, Facebook. It is free at EnglishClass101.com. Go crazy. Here is a quick homework assignment if you want to practice in the comments later. And next week, the lovely Daphne will be with you. I will be away next week. So please enjoy your lesson with her. I have to finish now, for real, for real. So thanks very much for joining me live this week. Have a great lesson with Daphne next week. And have a great week. Have a great weekend. I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye. Hi everybody, and welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alisha, and in this week's live lesson, we're going to talk about some questions you need to know when you meet someone for the first time. Today, we're going to talk about questions you can ask somebody, and we're going to talk about questions you should be prepared to answer smoothly. We're going to talk about some different small variations, some different changes you can make to the questions and to your answers. We're going to look at a sample dialogue for today, and we'll even do a very small quiz so you can practice too. So as you join, please make sure to hit the like button and of course share this video so other people can find today's lesson and practice these small but very important key phrases for the first time you meet someone. So as you join, leave something in the chat, say hello, and I'll come to check it in just a second. But Very importantly, I want to mention this banner at the bottom of the screen, which says get 55% off. Oh my gosh. The team has a Black Friday sale. This goes until, I think, November 28th. Yes, November 28th. So if you want to get, I think, the best deal of the year, I think it is the team's best deal of the year, go to the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. You can get the 55% off Black Friday special discount, amazing, at EnglishClass101.com. So if you want to get more of my lessons, if you want tools to help you, like vocabulary study tools, flashcards, spaced repetition flashcards, we love those. If you want to get transcripts of all of the lesson content, if you want your own teacher, oh my gosh, you can check this page to find all of the different features you can get and choose the plan that is best for you. So if you have been thinking this year, maybe I'll start, now is probably the best chance. I think now is probably the best time. If it were me, I would do it now. So go and check the information. I'll remind you a bit later again too. Okay, so let's get into today's topic because there's a lot to cover. Let me say hello to everybody quickly. Hello, Rocky and Rodrigo, Jose, Valerio, hello. Patrick, what's up? Alexa, nope, Wallace, Mino, Addison, what's up, everybody? And on Facebook, Al Gassim, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, let's get into today's lesson because we have a lot to do. Make sure to hit like if you haven't already. Let's go. So, we are going to talk about 5 key questions today. And inside these questions, we're going to look at like grammar points, we're going to talk about how to make them sound natural, and we're going to talk about responses to these. So I hope that everybody gets some like small questions about these first time interactions answered, okay? So today we're going to look at these 5 key questions. If you want to practice more in the chat, great, I love that. So today we're going to cover what's your name or what is your name. We're going to cover where are you from? What do you do? How long have you been studying English? And have you been to the USA? So you can, of course, change these questions to a different language and to a different country. But just for an example, we'll start here for today. So let's begin with a dialogue, and I'm going to break down all those things. But first, if you missed it, one more reminder. The team has a Black Friday discount. I want to make sure that you don't miss this one. So check the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, above the video if you're watching on Facebook to get 55% off. Oh my gosh. Okay, dialogue. So let's take a look at our sample for today. Ta-da! First, we have, I think, 3 or 4 pages of this. So let's take a look at a first-time meeting, and let's break down the grammar and the decisions that these speakers make throughout the conversation. If you have questions, leave them in the chat, okay? Oh, somebody asked on Facebook, Dwampy, are there live private classes on the course? So check, I'm not sure if you're asking about the Black Friday discount or about the live classes. You might just check the website or check the link on Facebook. I hope that will answer your question. Maybe those are 2 separate things. Okay, so let's take a look. Let me make sure I can write. All right, so let's first just read this beginning part. Hi, I don't think we've met before. What is your name? Hi, I don't think we've met before. What's your name? My name is Leo. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too, Leo. Are you new to this event? Okay, so let's break this down. What do we know about this conversation just from these 3 lines? First, we have this. Hi, I don't think we've met before. Maybe you can see here, we have reduced grammar forms to look at here. We have a negative, I don't think, and then here, we've met. I don't think we've met. Right here, this we've is we have, right? I don't think we have met before. So this is a grammar point. This is a perfect tense grammar point that shows us this is the first time to meet somebody. I don't think we've met before at native speed. Okay, so you can use this when you meet someone at an event for the first time. Then she asks, what is your name? What is your name? So this is like the standard textbook way to ask someone's name, right? We can, of course, make this more natural with what's your name? What's your name? Okay. Then we've got the standard textbook response, right? My name is Leo. It's nice to meet you, right? Can't go wrong. Easy to remember. You can, of course, just say, I'm, if you want, I'm Leo, or just even Leo is also okay. Leo, nice to meet you. All of these are correct. It's up to you. The textbook version is also correct. You can use any of these to answer the question. Okay, then we have the textbook and for perfectly fine response. Nice to meet you too, Leo. Are you new to this event? So this is one kind of question you can use when you meet someone for the first time to continue the conversation. I know sometimes learners do this and then stop. They don't know the next question to ask. So what's this one? Are you new to this event? So this line tells us these two people are meeting at an event, and maybe the woman here has been to the event before. But please note a couple points. First, this preposition, are you new to this event, okay? And she's asking a yes or no question. Are you new to this event? This is a different way to say, is this your first time here? Yeah? But note the preposition used to introduce this question. So let's follow along with the dialogue. I'm checking to see if there are any questions. I don't see them. Facebook, good. YouTube, good. Hello, everybody. Hello, Bilju, Shakila, Rafa, Ritesh, Viveros, Zach, Ruben. What's up, everybody? Okay, let's go. He responds, kind of. What does that mean? Okay. And then he says, I only arrived a few minutes ago. So, where are you from? I'm from Italy. I grew up in Milan. How about you? And then, I'm from South Africa. All right, we have quite a lot to look at here. So remember, he starts with kind of. Remember the question from the previous line? Are you new to this event? He says, kind of. So that's an opportunity for a question. Kind of is a way to say a little, right? She asks, are you new? Kind of. It's like, what does that mean? We can ask a question about that. He gives a little more information. I only arrived a few minutes ago. So this is a way a native speaker might express, I came to the event, but I walked in the door just a moment ago, right? All right. And he follows up with, so where are you from? Classic question, right? When you first meet a new person. She says, I'm from Italy. I grew up in Milan. I'm from Italy. I grew up in Milan. So in this situation, she gives two pieces of information, her home country, and in this case, she talks about the place specifically inside her home country. I grew up in Milan. So you can put this in the chat. Where are you from? You can put this in the chat, or we'll practice this one later, okay? Hello to everybody joining from Argentina and Guatemala. I see. What's up, everybody? Okay. Rodrigo on YouTube asks, can you explain the question, what do you do? Yes, that is one of the key questions for this lesson. We're going to look at it in part 3, I think. After the dialogue, we're going to look at each of the questions in detail. So please stick around. Please stay for that part. Okay. She asks, how about you? Classic. How about you? Right? Return the question. I'm from South Africa. Okay, let's move along to the next part then. That's interesting. I've always wanted to visit South Africa. Here's your question, Rodrigo. What do you do? I'm an engineer. I work on large-scale systems. What about you? And I'm a fashion product model. Milan is a good place for that, of course. All right, so what's going on in this part of this introductory conversation? So he said, I'm from South Africa. She says, oh, that's interesting. I've always wanted to visit South Africa. This is a generally good grammar pattern you can use to show interest in another person the first time. I have, right? This is I have. We have another perfect tense grammar structure here. I've always wanted. That means I have been interested for a long time in that thing. Right? So we're trying to make a connection with the other person. Then, Rodrigo, your question, first introductory to this question. What do you do? This question means, what's your job? What is your job? right? But if we say, what is your job? It sounds a little kind of like robotic. It's a little stiff and unnatural. So what do you do is usually what we use to ask about someone's job. At native speed, this question sounds like, what do you do? What do you do? All right. Okay. Other questions? Zach has a good point. What do you do and what are you doing are very different questions. What are you doing means what is happening now. What do you do means what is your job. Okay, let's continue. He responds, I am an engineer. I'm an engineer. So of course we can reduce I am to I'm. I'm an engineer. I work on large-scale systems. Large-scale systems. So large scale, large meaning big, and scale meaning size in one way, but also like size conceptually, really big systems, like big network systems, for example. Okay? And he returns, what about you? Right? Okay. She says, I'm a fashion product model. Milan is a good place for that, of course. Okay. So she's suggesting that her base is in a good area for her industry. So continuing, oh, long one. Definitely. With all the fashion houses there, it must be exciting. By the way, how long have you been studying English? She says, for 3 years. I started studying more seriously once I began traveling for work. How long have you spoken English? Since I was young. It's one of the main languages we use at school and at work. So let's break down a couple of key differences here in this introduction. And maybe you can guess what type of event they're at from this conversation. Yeah? So he says definitely. So he's agreeing with her comment here. Milan is a good place for that, of course, and he agrees. Definitely, so 100%, right? He says, with all the fashion houses there, so this with all means because there are many, many fashion houses there, this is a nice casual way to say because of all those things, with all, yeah? With all the fashion houses there, so this there means Milan, where she said she works, it must be exciting. So this must be is showing he believes strongly in something. Wow, that must be exciting. He can imagine it. Yeah? Then, by the way, just since we're discussing this right now, how long have you been studying English? This is another of the key questions for today. How long have you been studying English, right? Notice that he's using the progressive form here. How long have you been studying English? This shows she started in the past and is studying now, and he expects she will continue studying in the future. Yeah? She responds, for 3 years. Yeah? I started studying. Here, she links these two verbs. We often do this with start and finish. I started. Note this is past, right? I started studying more seriously once I began traveling for work. Ooh, so there's a lot of information in this sentence. I started studying more seriously, right? Here, she included more seriously, right? We can remove that. I started studying once I began traveling for work is also correct. But she included more seriously. So this more seriously, this comparative, shows us that before she was traveling for work, she studied a little, maybe casually. But once she began traveling for work, where once means only after she began traveling for work, she decided to start studying more, right? More seriously means she became more intense about her studies. She leveled up how much she wanted to study. Yeah? So this is a lot of information with a little bit of grammar. Okay, how long have you spoken? Notice the difference here. How long have you been studying versus how long have you spoken? Yeah? So we have these questions. He's used, how long have you been studying? And she's saying, how long have you spoken English? So it's a little bit of a different type of question, but she's basically asking similarly, how long has it been since you were able to speak English, right? So in this case, she's not asking about his continuing studies. She's like, oh, you clearly speak English. How long have you done that? How long have you had that experience? Okay. He says, since I was young, right? Since I was a kid, yeah? You don't have to include, I have spoken English since I was a kid or since I was young. Just add the time period after since I was young, yeah? It's one of the main languages we use at school and at work. So he's giving a reason that he has lots of experience speaking English. Okay, let me see what the chat says really quickly. Let's see, Patrick, kind of like that example means say when we come to an event minutes ago. Can you refresh my memory? Which line in the dialogue is your question about, Patrick? Let me see what's up on Facebook. Oh my gosh, Facebook. Hello, Marvin. Thank you for your nice comment. Hello, Hamza and Angel. Welcome. I don't see key questions yet, so I will continue. But oh my gosh, is this the last one? I forgot. Oh my gosh, did I go backwards? Okay, oh my gosh. Let's go through the dialogue. Let's keep going. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Let's see. So she says, that explains why you sound so natural, right? That explains. So because you've spoken English since you were young, that explains why you sound so natural. Speaking of travel, like a way to say it, by the way, yeah, speaking of travel, have you been to Italy? So her home country, right? Yes, I've been there twice. I visited Milan on my first trip and Florence on the second. Have you spent much time outside Italy? Okay, quite a bit. My modeling work takes me around Europe and sometimes to Asia and the US. All right, so here we get more details about their work and travel experiences. Have you been to Italy? Yes, I've been there is fine to use. Yes, I've been to Italy twice. We can use both patterns here. I visited. Notice this is simple past tense. I visited, right? It's done. It's over. I visited Milan on my first trip and Florence. So notice there's no verb here, yeah? So the verb is the same. I visited Milan on my first trip and I visited Florence on the second trip, yeah? So when the verb is the same, visited, you don't need to use it a second time. You can remove it to make the sentence shorter and more efficient. And here, notice, I visited Milan on my first trip and Florence on the second. So here, there's no trip, and that's okay. We know you mean first trip, second trip. So these are small choices you can make to make your sentences more efficient, yeah? Okay, then he asks, have you spent much time outside Italy? Have you spent much time outside Italy? You might think, why is there a much here? Aren't we only supposed to use much when we count things or in uncountable situations? Well, time, number one, we have time, talking about time. But when we ask questions, right? Have you spent much time outside Italy? Or have you saved much money this year? It's okay to use much in these situations. So she says, yes, quite a bit. Quite a bit is a way to say yes. Yeah, I've done a lot of things relating to her work. My modeling work takes me around Europe. So that means for her responsibilities for her job, she goes around to different countries. Yeah? Okay, continuing. I think the last one. Yay, we made it. Okay, so sounds like you've had some great experiences, he says. I try to make the most of them. Anyway, it was really nice talking with you. Same here. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk again later. All right, what's happening here? They're finishing their first conversation. Sounds like you've had some great experiences. Again, here we have that present, we have that perfect tense, right? You have had some great experiences in your life. We must have this have right here. Sounds like you've had some great experiences, yeah? And she says, I try to make the most of them. Them meaning her experiences. I try to make the most of them. This to make the most of something means to try to get a lot out of an experience or to try to get lots of benefits from something. Yeah, I try to make the most of them. This is a set phrase. Anyway, it was really nice talking with you. This is a nice indirect conclusion phrase. It was really nice talking with you. Past tense. It was really nice talking with you. Notice this is a past tense. This signals I am finishing the conversation. That was a nice conversation. This is a signal which means I'm going to go away soon, okay? So don't expect to continue the conversation. It's okay. He says, same here. I agree. It was nice talking to you. Hopefully, meaning I want to, we will get a chance to talk again later. Okay? So I hope this conversation gives you a lot of like small points to look at, even in an introductory conversation. Let me check the chat. Rocky wrote, I don't know how long I've spoken English, so is it okay to say so many years ago? Yeah, so your question, Rocky, is about this one. How long have you spoken English? Yeah, you can say for many years. If you don't know, for many years. Or since I was a baby, right? Or since I was young is okay. But if you don't know, you can start with for or since. For many years. I've spoken English for many years. Okay. Oh my gosh, am I back here to remind you about this? Yes, I am. Okay, great. So let's go to this because, oh my gosh, time went quick through that. Let me remind you, if you are just joining, the team has a 55% off deal, oh my gosh, for Black Friday. So if you want to get all the information about the basic plan, the premium plus plan, you should click the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, above the video if you're watching on Facebook, because it shows all of the different features. Someone asked a question about live classes too. If you want that, I think you can find that on the site also. Maybe, I'm not sure if it's included. I don't know off the top of my head if it's included in those, but check it out. You can, I know, with this one, get your own teacher. So if you're interested in that, oh my gosh, now is a great time to go and find that. So check it out. I will come back to this at the end one more time to remind you. But let us continue to part 3. What's your name? So let's look quickly at the key questions from today's sample conversation. You can put your answers to these questions in the comments and put your questions about the different ways we can change these as well. So, examples to respond. What's your name? My name is Lena. It's nice to meet you. Easy, right? My name is Tom. Nice to meet you too. This is pretty much the standard thing we see in the textbook. As we talked about before, you can say, I'm such and such, right? So, first quiz, choose the correct answer. My name is Daniel. It's nice, blank, you. Let's use our grammar brains. My name is Daniel. It's nice to meet, to meeting, or meet. You can put your answer in the comments, right? So we just reviewed this one. It's nice, blank, you. There is another possible answer here. You can put the other possible answer in there. We also looked at kind of a variation of another possible answer in the dialogue. But who's got it first? Rocky has it first. Amer has it first. Nice one. Okay, the answer is it's nice to meet you. To meet you. Not to meeting. It's not it's nice meet you. Nope. It's nice to meet. It's nice to meet you. And I mentioned there's a variation. Maybe you remember from the dialogue where they said at the end of the conversation, it was, past tense, right? It was nice. Oh man, how do I erase that one? Is there a way to do it? Okay, let me just go like this. It was nice meeting is another way that we can use a similar grammar pattern. It was nice meeting you, yeah? So we don't really, we can say that, oh, it's nice meeting you today. We often use that at the end of the conversation. It was nice meeting you today. So we can use the meeting grammar, but usually at the end of the conversation. Okay, good. You will have more chances to write your answers in the quiz. Let's continue. So, in your case, how would you introduce yourself? What would you say? The first time you meet somebody in a meeting, in a casual event situation like this, how would you introduce yourself? So how would you or how do you introduce yourself? Okay, do we have samples here? No, we do not. Okay, so we can take a look at the answers. I'll just write them here. I'm Alisha. You can use that one. My name is also okay. Yeah? So the classic ones we see in the textbook. My name is Alisha. Or just put your hand out to shake someone's hand. Alisha, nice to meet you. All of these are okay to use. If you have a crazy way to introduce yourself, okay. Usually we save the kind of crazy or silly things for after the first time you meet somebody, like after the first sentence, but maybe there are different personalities out there. Okay, let's continue to the next part because time is going quickly. Key question 2 is where are you from? Where are you from? In the dialogue, we saw a few answers. I'm from and I grew up in, right? So here's our 2 examples. I'm from Malaysia. I grew up in Kuala Lumpur. We talked about this in the dialogue. I'm from country and I grew up in city. Yeah? So we can use these 2 bits if we want to. You don't have to say your city if you don't want to, but we can use these 2 together to make it clear, right? Country and city or region. Next one, I'm from Argentina. I grew up in Cordoba. So I'm from plus country, and I grew up in. Don't forget this in. We love this in. We must have this in this sentence for it to be correct. I grew up in, okay? So we can use this when we introduce ourselves. You can choose the correct answer now here. I'm from the USA. I blank in Chicago. I'm from the USA. I blank in Chicago. The answers are I growed up, I grew up, and growing up in Chicago. Which is the correct answer here based on all of the grammar we've practiced in this lesson today, okay? So I'm gonna look at your examples in the chat. I see some people making some examples that are not quite correct, so I hope that this answer will help you to fix your sentences. Did anybody send the correct one yet? Renee, you're so close. I am from Cuba. I grew something, Soviet Union. Grew up, yeah, I got 4 in one go. Patrick, Zach, Rodrigo, and Rocky, and okay, Black Eagle, and Facebook, Nuha. Oh wait, Nuha, you have selected something that is not on that is not on the board, but you're very close. The answer is I grew up. I grew up in Chicago. I'm from the USA. I grew up in Chicago. We cannot use grow up in Chicago. I grew up. This is past tense, grew. This one, incorrect, grow up, because we need it to be past tense. Grew up is finished, right? We are adults now, maybe some of us, right? So we say, I grew up in a location. Let's continue to the next one. Oh, some of you are already answering this, but where are you from? Let's talk about, I guess, we've talked about these kinds of patterns today. I'm from location, right? I'm from country, or if you are talking to someone in your country, you can use the city here. I'm from Chicago, I'm from Los Angeles, I'm from New York City, or you can use your country here. We can also say, I grew up in, as we just practiced, I grew up in location. You might also hear something, maybe this is a more American sounding phrase. I was born and raised. I was born and raised in location. I was born and raised in location. So where location is your country or your city. I was born and raised in New York City. So born means when you were a baby, right? And raised, right? Born and raised mean I was born there and I grew up in New York City. Or I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I was born and raised in Shanghai, whatever that is. Maybe another one you can use. Okay, let's continue because time is going quickly. What do you do? Who was it asked before this? Rodrigo? Rodrigo, now is your chance. Okay, what do you do means what's your job, right? What is your job? I am a filmmaker, right? I use cinema to tell stories. Very exciting, okay? Or I am a tour guide. I lead eco tours in the area, okay? So here we have I am a for something that starts with a consonant sound. I am a consonant sound. In the dialogue we saw I am an engineer. So watch out for your article in these, right? Sometimes we need to use an. I am an engineer. Here they give some details. I use cinema to tell stories. I lead eco tours in the area. We use the present tense here because we're talking about a regular activity or action. These are details about the person's job, yeah? So let's move on to the next part because we have a quiz once more. I am an analyst. I blank complex data models, okay? So based on what I talked about here, what grammar point did I talk about here? Notice the grammar of these two. Which one should we use in this sentence? I blank complex data models. I handled, I handling, or I handle, right? Just think about the grammar. If you don't know the vocabulary word, that's okay. But think about just the grammar of this one, yeah? I'm an analyst. I blank complex data models. All right, what do we got? Who's first? I see YouTube is first. Luis has it. Handle is the correct answer. I handle complex data models. So handle means like deal with, right? To use information and to use like concepts as well, like to create something or to research something, okay? So we cannot use handling. We know the grammar is wrong, right? Same thing with past tense handled. We don't use these. I mentioned here, we're using simple present tense, right? I use, I lead, right? So in this case, the only simple present tense option is handle, okay? Continuing, you can put your job here if you would like to. Patrick wrote, handle is similar to work. You could say that, like I work with complex data models is also okay, yes. Okay, nice job, everybody. Renee has a good one here. I'm an airport agent and I am studying for my bachelor's degree. Very, very close. Just need some prepositions in there. Good luck with your bachelor's degree. Let's continue just to the last one because time is running out. But if you have something for the chat, you can pop it in there. Last question was, how long have you been studying English? We covered this in the dialogue a bit, but let's review. I've studied English for 2 years. How long have you been studying? They ask, how about you, right? I've studied for 6 months. How long have you been doing it? Here we have a couple different ways to return the question, right? I've studied English. Again, v means have. I've studied English. This is such a common mistake. Many learners say, I studied, right? I've studied, because the person is asking you a perfect tense question. I've studied English for 2 years, right? So we cannot use since 2 years. It must be for 2 years. How long have you been studying? Again, I've studied for 6 months, okay? So again, we have for plus a length of time. How long have you been doing it? So this is a very vague way to return the question. How long have you been doing it, right? If you don't know what to call the other thing the other person is doing, you can say, how long have you been doing it, okay? Let's continue. What is the correct grammar to use in this pattern then? I've studied English for several years. How long blank you been studying it? So we just covered the grammar of this. How long have, had, having you been studying it? All right, a little grammar refresher today. How long? Yeah, I see a few people. Luis has it, Tasneem has it, Atlas, not quite. We want how long have you been studying it? How long have you been studying it? So this is the same one we saw here. How long have you been studying? How long have you been doing it, right? When we want to ask a question about the length of time of someone's activities, we must use how long have you been blah, blah, blah. This one, this verb here at the end, how long have you been blah, 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 ing. This is where we have the ing. So yes, there is an ing verb form, but we must set up the question with how long have you been blah, 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 blah. Okay, all right, Patrick has a good example. I have been studying English since 2004. You have already answered the question. Maren Shaw, I think, on YouTube. I've studied English for 1 year. If it is only one, you don't need to use the plural s. I've studied English for 1 year is perfect, okay? No s there. Okay, great. Some of you have answered this question already, but I need to finish. The lesson is going. Oh my gosh, time is going quickly. Oh my gosh, another reminder. Can I remind them at the end and finish the lesson? Is that okay? Thanks, Control Desk. Okay, let's go to the final one. I think this was the final one. Yes. How have you been to the USA? Have you been to the USA? All right. This one. Yes, I've been there once. Once meaning one time. I plan on visiting again when I can afford to. In this case, they've given some extra information about their future travel plans. The second response, yes, I've been there many times. Yes, I've been there, meaning the USA, many times. I plan on visiting again when I have time. Okay, so some key points. Have you been to? Don't forget your preposition. Have you been to the USA? And yes, I've been there once. Again, grammar. I have been, right? Yes, I have been. If the answer is no, no, I haven't. I haven't. You might include yet as well, right? So we only have positive examples here, but no, I haven't yet. You can also use this. So I think our last quiz for today, woohoo! Yes, I've been there twice. I blank visiting again next year, all right? So if you want to include some information about your future, what can you do? I planned on, I plan on, I planning on. What do you think for grammar, right? How do we express this, okay? Yes, I've been there twice. I blank visiting again next year. Plan on. Luis, I think you're like 2 for 3, 3 for 4, something like that. Nice job, Luis. I plan on visiting again next year is the correct answer. We cannot use past tense, planned on, because this is a future tense plan, right? I plan on visiting next year, right? I'm planning on visiting is progressive form as well, so we cannot use that. All right, I got to finish up because I think that the stream is doing something weird. So let's finish up here with the summary of today's live stream comments, live stream questions. We'll finish up here. Today we talked a lot about these small questions that have lots of information behind them. What's your name? Where are you from? What do you do? And how long have you been studying English? And have you been to the USA? Okay, so let's wrap it up. Oh my gosh, we did a lot. Next week, phew, we'll talk about this, English transition phrases, how to change topics smoothly. How do we go from point A to point B nicely and naturally? I got to finish up there for today. Kind of abrupt, but I know that it was a lot to cover today. We kind of made it. If you didn't check it before, oh my gosh, where did that thing go? Where did the banner go? It is gone. I don't know. Anyway, let me remind you about this banner at the bottom. 55% off. See you next time. So have a great day, have a great week, have a great weekend. Go find the Black Friday deal. It's amazing. And go crazy with your studies. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for hitting the like button, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi everybody, and welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alisha, and in this week's live lesson, we're going to talk about English transition phrases. These are the little words or the little phrases that we use to connect our ideas. Native speakers use these every day, many times a day. I use these in live streams every week. These words are words that are maybe difficult to remember, but they're very important to make your speech and your writing sound smooth. So today we're going to cover quite a few, and we're going to talk about some different situations relating to how formal or how casual these words are as well. So I hope you can send lots of examples in the chat. Today, we're gonna look at what transition phrases are good for. So when should we use them? We should use them to make conversations flow smoothly, like I said, and it makes your conversation sound natural. When you connect your ideas, it sounds more natural than just sentence, sentence, sentence. It sounds kind of like a robot, right? And we use them for daily chats, for meetings, for presentations like this live stream. Very importantly, we use them in storytelling. When you tell a story about your day, it's very important to use transition phrases, okay? So final point for our introduction, these transitions are very important because they connect these ideas and they guide people between your sentences. They help people to understand how you're thinking. All right, so as we wait for people to join us live, I do want to point out this banner at the bottom of the screen. I'll come back to this in a second. It says, get 55% off. The team has a Black Friday sale, woohoo! Until, is it tomorrow? Until one day after tomorrow? I can't remember. Oh, it's right here on the screen. Sorry. Until November 28th. So this is very, very soon. You have a couple days left. The team's Black Friday sale is, I think, the best deal of the year. You should check it out. 55% off. If you want to study with us at EnglishClass101.com, you can get premium plans, premium plus plans. You can get your own teacher. You can get scripts, you can get flashcards, there's so much information. You can click the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube to find this information, this deal. Or if you're watching on Facebook, look for the link up here or to the side, okay? Let me check the chat to say hello to everybody. Let me go back to this one too. Hello on Facebook, Kun from Cambodia. What's up, Maliana? Hello, welcome on Facebook. On YouTube, hello, Chevi and Nahora, Michiko. Oh, people's usernames are appearing today instead of their display names. I wonder why. That's a weird change from YouTube. Okay, I'll try to, I hope I can read your names the same as usual. Natalie, what's up? Juan, hello. Mama, hello. Victor, Jacob, Rocky, what's up, everybody? Awesome. Okay. So I want to finish this quick introduction to transitions and then go straight into our transition points. If you haven't, please make sure to hit the like button and share this video because it helps other people find the lesson. Yay! Okay, so we're going to talk today about 3 main types of transition phrases, okay? We're going to talk about transition phrases which help us to add information to a sentence. We're going to practice topic-changing transitions, and we're going to talk about a transition you can use to go back to a previous point, something you said earlier, okay? So let's begin. First one is by the way. By the way. By the way. We use by the way in casual situations, everyday situations. You can use it at work. Also, it is not a rude transition phrase. We use this to add extra information or to change the subject for a short period of time. So you're talking about topic 1. Oh, you have an idea quickly. You can say, by the way, to introduce your idea. So you can put a sentence in the chat with, by the way. I'll show you an example while you think of your sentence. So here's an example conversation. I loved that movie last night. Oh, by the way, did you see the new trailer for the sequel? By the way, did you see the new trailer for the sequel? You might be like, what's this, sequel? Sequel means the next movie in the series, yeah? So for like Star Wars, we had Star Wars, the originals, like A New Hope, right? The sequel was The Empire Strikes Back, like Star Wars, I guess, number 4 to number 5, right? So the sequel is number like 2 in the series, right? The first movie, and then the second movie, and then the third movie, right? A sequel means the next one in the series. Can be books, can be movies, okay? Anyway, there's a transition we're gonna talk about later. By the way, is like saying, oh, this idea that's related to this conversation popped into my head. I just had this idea about this. It's related in some way. So there's some relationship usually between this topic and this person's idea. In this case, the movie last night, and this person wants to talk about the next movie, yeah? Also, another vocabulary word here. By the way, did you see this phrase? The trailer. The trailer. The trailer means the short preview movie. Like before the movie comes to the movie theater, on TV and on the internet, you see a preview movie. What's the movie about? Who's the famous star in the movie, right? That short movie is called a trailer, yeah? Okay, so we can use by the way to do this. Let me see if you used by the way in the chat. Zach wrote, the project deadline is next week. By the way, have you seen the latest feedback from the client? Perfect, that's a great use of by the way in a professional situation.
Love that. Rocky wrote, by the way, I want to know about you. Who else doesn't want to grow up anymore? I don't. Okay, I love, the sentence is fine. By the way, I want to know more about you is okay. However, we need some idea before, by the way, to connect to, right? So like idea A, and then by the way, connect your idea to that, okay? All right. So for people who are writing your by the, Luis, I see you, by the way, did you hear that was nominated for Best Picture? Great use of nominated. Nominated for something is a great one. But again, we need to use 2 sentences. So maybe that's a good challenge for today. Use 2 sentences or 2 ideas to connect with a transition phrase, okay? All right, let's continue. Oh, Mama has a good example. I loved, past tense maybe, I loved the soccer game. But by the way, okay, so I would say, notice here, there's no but, yeah? But and by the way have different functions, yeah? But is a topic change, right? So it's a different way to connect. But is a connecting, a conjunction, yeah? By the way is like adding information that's slightly different. So I would say for your sentence, Mama, I loved the soccer game. By the way, did you see how, I don't know how to pronounce the player's name, Mbappe, maybe, sorry, scored the goal, right? Did you see the way the players scored the goal? So I would suggest use just by the way, no but there. We don't need both of them. Okay, let's continue because we have a lot today. Okay, so let's continue to speaking of that. Speaking of that. At native speed, this sounds like speaking of that, okay? Or we sometimes drop that and just say, oh, speaking of blah, 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 okay? So speaking of is used to connect a new comment directly to the previous topic. So with this one, the 2 ideas are directly and clearly related. Yeah, speaking of blah, 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 okay? So we use this when there's a stronger connection. With this one, I would say this is a pretty strong connection, I think, between the movie and the sequel. So if we used speaking of, or speaking of that, it would be okay here. There's a strong connection here. We need to make sure when we use speaking of that, there's a clear connection between the ideas, okay? So try to connect 2 ideas in the comments if you want to challenge yourself. Ovindi has a good one on Facebook for, by the way, I saw your message. By the way, congratulations on your new job. Perfect. Perfect use. Great example, Ovindi. I love it. Okay. All right. Let's go to our examples for speaking of that. Okay. The first person says, I need to buy a new laptop. Second person says, speaking of that, there's a sale at the electronics store today, okay? Speaking of that, where that means this topic, right? I need to buy a new laptop. So the that in speaking of that means I want to make a connection, a direct connection to this point, yeah? I need to buy a new laptop. These 2 are very strongly connected. So it's like this plus this. And speaking of is like saying, oh, you are speaking about that topic. I want to add something to that topic, yeah? So it's a very strong connection of 2 ideas between 2 different people, yeah? So there's a sale at the electronics store today. This person is giving the first person a good opportunity to get what they need, okay? All right, some more examples are coming in. Nahora wrote, I bought a new dress. By the way, the last one you bought, I didn't like much. Okay, so that, I don't know the context there. Could be a little rude, watch out, but good use of by the way. That one's good, okay. Let's see. Mama wrote, soccer is the greatest sport of all time. And speaking of that, I think Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi are the 2 greatest in soccer. Okay, I think that that's good. Usually, another point, good way of connecting your 2 ideas. Another point to add here, this happens between 2 or more speakers, yeah? We usually use this in a conversation. So I'll put 2 plus speakers. So usually we use speaking of that to add to another person's idea. So conversation starts with A and B adds that. Maybe if you're talking to yourself, like, oh, wow, I really need to, or you're explaining to someone else, like, oh, wow, I really need to go to the store today to get some milk. Oh, speaking of that, I also need to go to the electronics store today. In that situation, maybe it's natural. But we usually use this when we are talking with someone else, okay? All right. So Alexandra has a good example in a conversation, maybe, right? I enjoy studying English. Speaking of that, there's a great teacher on YouTube. Her name is Alisha. Woo! Thank you. Okay, good. Luis has a great example. Oh, the team will love this one. I love to tune into Learn English 101, or English Class 101. Speaking of that, do you know they have a 55% off for the premium subscription? Oh my lord, so good. Okay, good example there. We love that. Yes, 55% off is true. Check the link below. Okay, but yes, I want to point out that this is usually used between 2 or more people. All right, let's go to the next one because I talked for a long time last week and I don't want to do the same thing this week. So let's go to one of my personal favorites, anyway. Anyway is so useful. I use it probably every day. Anyway is used to return to the main point or the main topic, okay? Or to move past a tangent, okay? So a tangent means like a different path in the conversation. So imagine, like a live stream, we have today's topic, right? And I'm talking. But then maybe I start to tell a story about something that happened in my life, right? It's not about the main topic. This part is a tangent, right? It's that side road in the conversation. So when we want to come back to the main part of the conversation, we say, anyway. Anyway. This is how we go back to the main road in the conversation, is with anyway. I use this, if you watch live streams every week, you have heard me say this 100%, because I like to explain something or answer someone's questions. So I go on a short side road in the live stream. And when I come back to the main topic, I say, anyway, like, let's move on, that kind of thing. So anyway is so useful. You can put it in your notes today. This is a great way to go back to the main point. Let's look at an example. This person is ending her story, or their story. All right? She says, or they say, and then we were lost for hours. And then we were lost for hours. Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, let's get back to planning the trip, okay? So in this situation, person A is telling a story about travel, probably, okay? And person B wants to go back to the original plan. We know this because they say, let's get back to, right? Let's return to our activity, planning the trip. This is the original plan or the original goal, right? They say anyway to do that, okay? But I want to note, you should be careful about how you use anyway. It can sound rude. If someone tells a story like this, they finish the story, and then we were lost for hours. Like, it sounds maybe dramatic, right? Like, oh. It sounds rude to say, anyway, let's get back to what we were doing. It sounds like you didn't listen to what they said. It sounds like you don't care. So this probably sounds rude in everyday conversation. To make sure you don't sound rude, you can add something like this. Wow, whoa, or crazy, something like that. And then say, anyway, very softly, right? So, and then we were lost for hours. Whoa, crazy. Anyway, let's get back to planning the trip. Something like that will make it softer. If you use just anyway, it sounds rude, right? So make sure you use this carefully when you talk to other people. But when you use it to talk about yourself, like I do in live streams, it's okay, right? Because I can recognize, like, oh, I talked too long about that point. I want to go back to the main part of the conversation. Yeah? So when you use it for yourself, you can use it very freely. But when you use it with another person, please make sure not to be rude. Okay. All right, let's see what the examples are. Zach has, I don't even want to talk about that movie anymore. So anyway, what are your plans for the weekend? So you can use this, I suppose, yeah, to talk about, to change the conversation, I suppose. Like if you're tired of talking about something, you could use anyway, I guess. Especially if you are kind of making fun of yourself. You're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Anyway, what are you going to do for the weekend? It sounds like you're going back to an easier topic. You can use it like that. Okay. All right, so Mama has a good example. So basically, you were talking while I was talking. That's kind of rude. So anyway, let's get back to the subject. You have the right idea. Returning to the original subject. Okay. Alexandra wrote, what's the difference between anyway and by the way? Great question. Let's compare. So we have anyway to show we want to go back, right? Remember this visual, yeah? This is our side part of the conversation. And anyway is the word we use to transition back, yeah? Okay, so remember this visual, draw this visual, okay? Let's compare this to, by the way, okay? So by the way is used to add extra information, right? We did not do that with anyway. With anyway, we use anyway to go back to the main conversation, not to add information, okay? Does that answer your question? All right, let me know. I'll check the chat. But for now, let's move along because I'm talking a lot. On another note, on another note. On another note is a neutral or slightly formal, okay, way to introduce a different topic, okay? On another note, okay? There's a similar phrase called on that note, okay? On another note is a way we can transition to a new topic. We use this one in meetings a lot when we want to go to the next topic in a situation and we want to sound a little kind of professional, okay? So let's look at some examples of this one. We'll talk about this. So this is a meeting situation. The first person says, we finished the budget report. And the second person says, on another note, have we scheduled the client meeting? Okay, so you can see here, this person introduces the next topic for the meeting, yeah? This person says we finished, right? Right? So we have a key word here. The budget report is finished, great. This person is ready to go to the next topic. So they say on another note. So this note, you might be like, what is that? On another note, you can think of this as like, if you like music, maybe you can imagine the notes in music, right? Like this, yeah? Music notes, something like that. I'll put a variety here. When we play music, we go from the first to the second to the next, right, to the next note. So it's like we're saying, okay, so on another note, on means the one you are playing now, right? So on this note, or on that note, right? So we're saying on another note, this means I want to go to a different note, like where the note is the topic of conversation, yeah? So the note is the topic. On another topic, yeah? So these are called notes in English. On another note, let's talk about this other topic. This is a way to say, let's go to another topic or a different topic, okay? You will also hear very commonly, on that note, which means that topic exactly, right? So on that note means this is related to the first point, right? So we often use this to end a meeting, like to end a conversation, or to kind of like conclude that topic of discussion and go to something else completely different. So for example, we finished the budget report and the second person might say, great, well, on that note, let's finish the meeting. Something like that, which means on that note, meaning this is the last note for the meeting. If we think of the meeting or we think of the discussion like music, on this note, it's done. Let's finish on that point right there. maybe it's helpful to think of note as meaning topic or point. Yeah? So we use this to transfer or to change conversations with another, and we use it to refer to the same topic with that. So there are a couple variations here. Okay. Let's see some examples. Minnow wrote one for anyway. Oh, I really hate her. Anyway, should we take a break? Okay, that's maybe a very, very good and strong example, yeah, of a change in conversation. Good use of anyway. All right. Zach wrote, I loved the movie, but the ending was a bit predictable. On another note, are we still meeting for lunch on Saturday? Perfect. Nice one, Zach. I love that. Vindi has one for anyway. Let's go back to anyway to review. That was interesting. Anyway, we need to finish our discussion on climate change. Okay, quite. So we are moving from one conversation to another. Very, very strong change there. Okay. And one more from Mama on YouTube. We finished the exam preparation. On another note, when is the final exam? Okay, you might say, I would say in that case, by the way, when is the final exam? Because the ideas are connected, yeah? On another note, feels like there's some disconnect between the two ideas, yeah? So I would suggest that one. Okay. Dimasla, hello, on YouTube wrote, could on another hand be similar to on another hand? We don't say on another hand, we say on the other hand. I know they sound similar. So no, the answer is no. Number one, we do not say on another hand. You cannot use that. And we can say on the other hand. We use that to compare two ideas. Yeah, I don't think that's in today's lesson. But on the other hand is used to talk about usually two comparing two ideas we want to compare. Okay. Marion on Facebook has an example. We made the sales goal today. On that note, let's do the ending report and send it in. Good, 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 good. On that note, perfect use of on that note to transition between your ideas. I love it. All right, let's continue. Oh my gosh, we made it through the first section. I'm talking too much, so let's go quickly. If you missed it earlier, the team has a 55% off deal for Black Friday. Yay! Can you see me? I blend into the board here, don't I, in my black shirt? I'm here, I promise. So, Black Friday, 55% off at EnglishClass101.com. Oh my gosh. So, this is useful for basic plans, for premium plans, and for Premium Plus, and it ends November 28th, 2025. So please click the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. You will find all the different details. There's a chart you can check to see the difference. What's the difference between basic and Premium Plus? What can you get? So this is an amazing chance. I think it's the best one of the year. I think this is the best one of the year. So go get all the details if you want to start, if you want more of my lessons, if you want all kinds of different study tools, you can find all the details at EnglishClass101.com. All right, let's continue to the next one because I have a lot more to cover today. If you haven't, please, please, please make sure to hit the like button and share this video so other people can find the lesson. Let's continue. Let me check the chat quickly. Luis wrote, the client just approved the new changes for the website. Great. On another note, we still have to normalize the database. Great. Nice use of on another note there. And Patrick wrote, we bought meat in the grocery store yesterday. On another note, we need to buy rice for the week. We don't have more. Good. Nice example. Nice way to transition there. All right. Let's go to the next one. That reminds me. That reminds me. At native speed, oh, that reminds me. That reminds me. This means something in the conversation caused me to remember something. That reminds me. So we use this to introduce something you just remembered that is related to the conversation, okay? It's related to the conversation somehow, okay? Let's look at the example. Please remember this one. This is a very, very common one. Write this one in your notes. You will hear it probably every day, okay? First person says, I saw a great cafe yesterday. Second person says, oh, that reminds me, I need to return your book. And you might think, how are these related? What is the relationship between these two things? That is the fun of that reminds me. Sometimes we don't know exactly what caused the other person to remember something. This person's just comments like, oh, I saw a great cafe yesterday. And for some reason, that causes this person to remember, oh, that reminds me, or I just remembered I need to return your book. Like maybe the last time they met in a cafe and person A gave person B a book, for example. They think, oh my gosh, that reminds me. I have to do this, yeah? So the fun of that reminds me is sometimes the connection is not clear to the first person. And oftentimes, like in this situation, this person goes, that reminds me, I need to return your book. Oftentimes, the first person will go, why does that remind you? Or like, what brought that up? Meaning, what caused you to remember that? Yeah? Asking about this connection. So that reminds me can sometimes be a little bit funny because we don't understand the connections in the other person's brain. So that reminds me is a very, very good one to use. Okay? All right. Let me see the chat. Zach has another good one. The manager says, so we need to focus on improving our customer onboarding process. And the employee says, that reminds me, Sarah from the support team sent some great feedback about that last week. Great, great, very clear example there. Nice one, Zach. Let's continue to the next one because I am already late. Okay, before I forget, another very common one, especially for super, super busy people, or if you have a bad memory. This one is for you. This is a phrase we use to introduce something important, an important thing you need to share. The other person needs to know this thing. So an important point you might otherwise forget. You might forget it in the future. Like you're having a really busy day, but you need to give someone key information. You can say, before I forget, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So let's look at the example of this. This person says, oh, thanks for the update, like your manager maybe. Oh, before I forget, please send the meeting agenda by noon. Please send the meeting agenda by noon. So you can see this comes before a regular request. Please send the meeting agenda by noon. But this person thinks, oh, I might forget this, right? I'm having a busy day. So before I forget, this before I forget means before I forget to tell you or before I forget to ask you, okay? Before I forget about this, like I'm thinking about it right now, let me tell you right now, right? Before I forget about it, yeah? So this is great to use on a busy day. Before I forget sounds like, I have a lot happening right now. Okay, let me check the chat. Nahora wrote, I have to go to the library. Oh, let's go back to the last one. I have to go to the library. That reminds me, I didn't have lunch. Oh no. Okay, good example, okay? Zach's got a fast example. Before I forget, the landlord said he's stopping by tomorrow morning to fix the faucet. Good one, good examples, everybody so far. Okay, I'm gonna move along, but I will continue to check the chat. So if you're thinking of an example sentence, keep going, challenge yourself, okay? Let's talk about as for. As for, you might be like, what is that? This is two very short words that we usually use to connect information alone. So what is that? As for, we use to introduce a topic. So it introduces a specific topic, like a person you want to talk about. There's an item, like a product, something you want to make a comment about, something you want to give an update on. We use it just to introduce that topic, okay? So let's take a look at our example here. This is in probably a meeting situation. Person A asks, what about the schedule? What about the schedule? And then person B says, well, as for the schedule, we'll finalize it on Friday. Finalize it means to make a final decision, about something. This is a verb, yeah? So as for, and then after that, we have a noun, yeah? So the basic grammar pattern we're going to use here, as for noun, and noun can be a person, it can be an item like this, like the schedule, usually a person or an item, like you're discussing something that is going to happen, or you're discussing something that happened in the past. I'd say sometimes maybe we use places. If you're, for example, if you're planning a trip, like as for, I don't know, as for Shanghai, we're going to do X, Y, and Z in that location. Also, another thing to note, as for tends to sound a bit more formal. Like, we don't use as for very much in our daily, like, friendly, casual conversations. As for is like a kind of a little more formal, not super polite, but a little more formal way to introduce a topic of conversation. As for, okay? Let me check your examples. I see many coming in. Great job, everybody. Let's take a look. You have, oh my gosh, who haven't I read from in a minute? Patrick, tomorrow is Maria's birthday. That reminds me, I have to buy her a gift. Oh, before I forget, I see what you've done. Okay. Let me help you make it nice. Tomorrow is Maria's birthday. Oh, that reminds me, I have to buy her a gift before I forget. Okay, you could do that. Or I have to buy her a gift I have to do this before I forget. I would combine them before I forget because I'm very busy. Yeah? So to make your sentence nice, I would combine them. Tomorrow's Maria's birthday. Oh, that reminds me. I have to buy her a gift before I forget. You could use it like that. Yeah, nice way to combine those, Patrick. Very nice, very nice. Okay. Victor wrote, I have been in your class. Oh, I have been in your class yesterday. Use past tense. Have been is used for continuing actions. Yeah, Victor? I was in your class yesterday, right? Yesterday is finished. That reminds me, I need to study grammar, yeah? So maybe if it's this class, I watched your class yesterday. That reminds me, I need to study grammar. Maybe that's what you want to say. Okay. Zach wrote, we've booked the flights to Paris. As for the hotel, we're still looking for a good deal. Good, okay. Luis wrote, where is Lee? As for Lee, he went back to China for holidays. Okay, we can say that. We can say that. For me, that's a situation. You've used it correctly. It does tend to sound kind of more formal, like you're having a meeting about it. So you've used it correctly to introduce a person. But again, we typically don't use as for to introduce people in a conversation, like a daily conversation. In that situation, I'd probably say, where's Lee? Oh, Lee? He went back to China for the holidays. Something like that, where we don't have as for, because we already know kind of the topic of conversation. So it's less common in daily conversations. Oh my gosh, I have to finish up. Okay. Moving on, perfect. That's very funny. Moving on is a way to say going to the next topic. That was perfect because I was on a tangent. I could have said anyway. Moving on is a neutral way to mean you are going to the next topic, right? You are leaving, you're finishing the topic now and going to the next topic. Moving on, moving on. I love to use this one. Let's look at the example. Moving on. Let's examine our sales figures for Q3. Q3 means quarter. So the third quarter of the year, the 3-month quarter of the year. So moving on, meaning let's go to the next topic of the conversation, which is sales figures. Sales figures, this means numbers. This is a fancy, special, polite way to say numbers for the year, okay? Oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna go to, let's see, how much do we have left? While we're on the subject, oh my gosh. Is there 2 left? Okay, good. Let's talk about the last 2 really quickly then, because I'm out of time. While we're on the subject, this one's a longer one. While we're on the subject, this is used to add a related point, like by the way, yeah? Like think of this as by the way, because it's related to the subject. It's just a different way to say by the way. So let's look at these examples quickly. First person says, we've discussed the venue. The venue means the place to have an event. We've discussed the venue. The second person says, while we're on the subject, should we confirm the guest list? So while we're on the subject, where the subject means the previous topic. So by the way, blah, 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 right? I want to talk more about that in a related sense, okay? And then, sorry, I have to go to the next one because I am very late. So let's talk about the last one. Incidentally, maybe the most formal one on this list. This is a way to say, by the way. By the way, we often use it in writing and in very polite situations. So you'll hear this in maybe the news, I suppose. So let's look at a last example here. The report is complete. Incidentally, the client asked for an extra copy. By the way, the client asked for an extra copy. They mean the same thing, but incidentally sounds more formal. All right, I gotta finish. Time's up for me. So that means it's up for all of us. 55% off if you missed it before. This is an amazing chance to start studying with EnglishClass101.com. Check the link right here, right now, because the lesson is finishing. Go crazy, get your favorite deal by November 28th. I wish you all the best. I have to finish now. Thank you everybody who joined me. These are some tips I will show you very quickly for the end of the lesson. I will, of course, be back next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. Set a notification for that. Thanks for your great example sentences. Oh my gosh, I didn't get through all of the slides today, but we covered the main points. Next week, I think the topic for next week actually has changed. We're going to talk about something different. So please pretend you didn't see this. We're going to talk, I think we have something that got last minute changed for next week. But I think you will be able to find it on the YouTube live stream page. Check that, or on the Facebook live stream preparation page. So please check that. Sorry to finish very quickly today, but I hope you have a great day, have a great week, and have a great weekend. Go crazy with the Black Friday sale. Thanks for liking and sharing the video and for sending your messages in the comments. See you next time. Bye.
Now that you're finished with this lesson, don't forget, as a free bonus, you get over 30 conversation cheat sheets, but only if you sign up via the link in the description. You'll learn how to have flowing conversations and how to answer the most common questions. You can also print out these colorful cheat sheets to keep as physical study material. So don't miss out on this free gift. Click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get your PDF cheat sheets.